Hello and welcome to another exciting Blender tutorial. Today we're going to be building our asteroid factory enemy giant bad thing. Let's get started. Okay, so today we're going to continue our story. Now, where we left off last time, our little hero scannerbot dude, droid guy was scanning this asteroid, and then he turns around and flies off. And what happens next? So he's gonna turn around, he's gonna fly off, and he's gonna find something. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna have him come up to. The plan is come up to like a giant asteroid somewhere in this asteroid field, and this is the reason why our character's here. So. If they've come searching for this thing, which is basically a giant factory. That's the plan. Giant asteroid factory thing that's hiding in this asteroid field, and it's producing these spider bots, these droids that are trying to blow everything up. So we're gonna have our little guy discover the big factory. So in order to have him discover a big factory, we need to make a big factory. Now, the idea is I want to kind of take one of these giant asteroids out here somewhere and use it. So we're going to kind of use it as a basis for this factory thing. But I'm going to start off in this main file. This is the last scene file that I have. And we're going to start off with this one. And what we're going to do is use this as the basis so that we got all the right materials and objects and stuff that we can pull from. And as well as the scale. We want to make sure we're getting our scale right as we're building this thing. So that's the plan. All right, so let's figure this out. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save this as a new file. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and delete all the stuff that I don't need. So there's a lot that I don't need here. We're going to get rid of, I'll get rid of all of my emitters and stuff. So let's, I'm going to select all those out. I'm just going to delete all those emitters. Let's see, far asteroids, we don't need any of those. Hero asteroids, I'll keep them around. I'll keep the sun. Don't really need the sun, do I? I'll keep it for fun. Vortex, I can get rid of that. And what else? Camera path, smart cone, scan cone, all that stuff. We can get rid of the scan cone. And what else do I need? And we'll keep our scanner bot around. And that should be pretty good. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these guys down here and just bring them up. Actually, I'll put it right at 0, 0, 0. All right. Get rid of all this. And we'll get rid of all this. And that. And that. And we only need one camera. Delete that one. And now I'll get rid of all the keyframe data. Just delete those keyframes. Actually, I could just do that. And let me delete all the keyframes in the entire scene in one go. All right, brilliant. Okay, there's our little scanner bot, and here's our giant asteroid. And we've got this asteroid as well. I can get rid of. So now we just have the two things that we need. Oops. Holy cow, that's huge. Where did that even come from? I didn't even see that. Okay, now just for ease of workflow, I'm going to move my scanner bot straight over to the 0, 0 position. And I'll zero out the rotation as well. And I'll hit the full stop key on my keyboard to pop over to where he is. It's also known as the period key. Now, what is this? That's the sun, and that's our giant asteroid. All right, I'm going to bring this forward on the X, on the Y, and on the Z. Now, this is kind of just going to be like a bit of a reference. It's a starting point for us. So I might move this out of the way just for a minute, and I'm going to create something. I'm going to create maybe an isosphere. And I'll just put that in the 0 position and focus my attention on it. Yep. I'm going to grab my scanner bot. I'm just going to move it back on the X a little bit. And I'm going to get this thing scaled up till it's the right size. And I'm just kind of guessing. I'm just kind of feeling it out. It might also help I think it'll help if I have my hero ship in here as well. So I'm going to actually append my hero ship into the scene. And this is just for scale. So move him back, and we'll move him back. Now I can reference them as I go. So one of the things I want to have happen in this scene is I want to have the spider bot's going to be coming out of this thing. We're going to climax to a point in the scene where basically we're going to have the hero ship. He's going to fly up and he's going to nosedive into this factory, and I don't know if he's going to fly through it. I think he's going to like send some kind of like pulse weapon into it and cause the whole thing to explode. So, and he's going to do like one of those dramatic, either he'll pull up at the last minute or he'll fly through. I haven't quite decided, but so I want it to be big enough that he could fly through reasonably, big enough that it feels like it's producing these spider bot things. So those are just some of the factors I want to think about. It's got to be imposing, so like if we fly up to it in a shot like this thing's got to feel really huge. Doesn't necessarily have to be as big as, say, this thing, although it's getting up there already. So this is probably pretty good because like you can get some pretty dramatic shots flying up to something like this. Let's work with this size. I think this is good. All right. I'm going to zero him out just so it's right in the center, and I'm going to grab my scanner bot and my hero ship control and grab them back on the X just so they're out of the way. And we're going to use that as our main reference point. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the material on this thing that we're going to use. So let's come over here and let's grab the asteroid material. I'm going to switch over to rendered view just to get a sense of it. And oh, cool, we still have our volumetric in the scene. How good is that? Hope you guys enjoyed that episode. All right, now let's think about our modifiers. We've got our displacement and our subdivision surface on that one. So let's imitate that. We'll go subdivision surface, and can do a couple of things with this one. Like we'd have this one kind of be creepily smooth. That could be interesting. But let's put the displacement on it. Displace. And I'll grab the asteroid displacement material, and I'm going to turn the strength right down, and then throw on my second subdivision surface. Bam. Cool. Let's make this thing happen. I'm going to shade smooth. And I am going to start thinking about what we could do with this thing. Now, I'm going to turn my grid off because it's a little bit, turn the floor off, it's a little distracting. And let's think. I definitely want to have a giant hole in the top. So that's a good place to start. Let's do that. I'm going to switch to solid face mode and grab these faces. I'm going to hit I to inset, bring that in, and then I'm going to hit E to extrude, and we're going to grab it on the Z and drag it down. And you can see we start getting like really crazy stuff going on, which is what we want. We want some crazy stuff. I'm thinking I want this thing to be hollow all the way through. So I might take this bit, delete these faces, and then grab that bit, bring it down, and then we need to rotate on the Z 90. Nope. And what I can do is I can get rid of these faces, and then I can grab switch to vertex snapping up here and turn it on, and I can just grab and snap to these vertexes just like so. And then just make sure it's all working. Can select all and hit F3, and we can type in merge by distance. And that's going to just completely screw up the whole thing. It's just because we've got a twist in the middle. It doesn't. That's really cool looking, actually. All right, let's do a loop cut. It's not going to let me do a loop cut because it's confused. That's all right. Let's do this another way. Let's see. I'm actually just going to select these faces. I'm going to turn off transparent view, and I'll select these faces, and I will delete those faces there. All right, great. So now let's switch back to render view. All right, so just by deleting the top and the bottom sections, we'll be able to get what we want. I'm going to take grab this loop here at the bottom, and I'm just going to hit E to extrude. Turn off proportional editing. There we go, just so it matches. We've got a double edge on both sides. And then what we can do is just bridge these together. So I can hit F3 and type in bridge edge loops, and hit return, and there you go. It's going to bridge those together. Perfect. All right, great. Let's keep making progress. Now, I want to think about, I'm going to turn down my displacement a little bit so that it's not doing too much work for me. I want to have a little bit of control over this thing. We're going to fill the interior of this with some machinery that spins. But I think what I want to do is I think I want to make it a bit wider. Let's see if we can. Now, one problem with using the isosphere is that you really limit the amount of like edge loops that you have. Like, so you can see here, I'm holding down Alt. I can't select this intersection because of the face structure, but that's all right. I'm just going to scale it up in the middle a little bit. And let's see, I'll scale this one up as well. Grab this one on the Z, bring it up a touch. I want this bottom section to be smaller. Accidentally clicking a bunch of extra pieces. See what happens if we spin it a bit. That's kind of cool. Now I want to play around with just creating some extra facets and stuff on this guy. So I'm just going to select a few of these and extrude them out. I'm going to switch to the normal for moving these around. I'm just going to use the handles. I'll just extrude out a few of these just to see what kind of shapes we can get and if any of this is going to be cool. Nice. If we can get the displacement visible. I'm just going to turn on all my modifiers to be visible in edit mode so that I can actually see what it's going to properly look like. I'm also going to go ahead and delete this guy so I'm not confusing myself. And I'm just experimenting and playing around looking for a shape. So I'm just looking for, what can we do to make this thing look interesting, but also intimidating? Because this is supposed to be sort of the mothership of our bad guys. I love how it wobbles around when you could probably make some craters using that kind of a technique. That could be cool. Let's try that. All right, cool. So we got some crazy features on this thing. Now let's have another look at our deformation. Just play around with what this thing could look like. Now, if we increase our subdivisions over here, you got to remember to also increase your render subdivisions too. Otherwise, you can end up with a different result in your render. Of course, it does mean we'll end up with a lot more geometry, which can be a problem. But. All right, I think that's looking pretty cool. I might elongate it a little bit. Okay, so the next part of this is going to be the interior structure of this factory. So I want to make some gears and have them, kind of rotating around on the inside. So I'm going to start off with, first off, I'll hit Shift S and I'll snap my cursor to world origin to make sure right there in the center. And then I'm going to hit Shift A and create a cube. also going to get out of rendered view because I don't need to be rendered view. I'm going to bring this cube right up, turn off snapping, right up, and scale it right up as well. All right, scale it on the Z, bring it down, turn off transparent mode, and actually I might put this up here. I'm going to create a basic shape for these guys. I'm going to grab the top edge right here, and I'll switch to local. And I think what I want is for these edges to go in like this. And then what I want to do is I'm going to hit Shift A, create a curve and a circle. I'm going to grab this up, scale it up as well. And I'm just going to position it like this. And then I want to create an array. Where are you, array? With these guys. And we'll try constant offset for now. And then what I want to do is I want to do a, let's see, I think it's curve. Is a circle, there we go. And see which of these gives us the right result. Oh, that's kind of cool. We'll work with that one. And let's take this and we're going to rotate on the, I think the Y 90. And that's going to put that like that. I want to go the other way actually. Rotate on the Y 180. All right, so I've made this round circular object and we can do some cool things with it. I might just parent my cube to the Bezier circle. And then grab that circle and position it inside. And I'll just switch to my top-down view by pressing 7 on my number pad. And I'll just pop it right in there. And I think what I'll do is I'll take the back of it, this, and just grab it on the, let's see, which way do I need to grab it? There we go. Just grab it like that so it intersects the geometry. We don't need to go that far. All right, I'm going to just create a new collection here, and I'm going to call it Factory. This will eventually be the collection we put everything in. And I'm going to come over here to what we just made, our Bezier circle and our cube, and I'm going to drag them over into Factory. Now it's easy. What I can do is I can just turn everything else off and just focus in on this. Now, I'm going to add in a bevel modifier and just play around with the offset. I don't want it to be too big. Something like that's pretty nice. And then I want to go into edit mode. And when I select one of these faces, when I've got, so if you've got these turned on here, basically it means that you're going to see the effect of this modifier within edit mode. So if you've got that final one, that little grid of 3 dots, or actually, sorry, it's the triangle one. So that allows us to work like this, where we're able to work within that, the context of what we're doing to this thing. Okay. So now what I can do is I can play around with some stuff. The only part that's tough about it is knowing like what does scale Y do, for example, or scale X. So that just might take a little bit of playing around to get it right. And we're just going to create a little bit of detail like this, so that as a whole, the thing really looks cool and has some interesting just shapes going on. So when we're staring down into it, it feels like there's a lot to this thing. And I'm just using inset, so I to inset, and then E to extrude, and then the G key to grab. So I again to inset, E to extrude, G to grab, and locking it on the Z. And then I might do something cool where I grab just one of these edges and bring it down on the Z. And maybe something like that could be cool. Like it would be nice to have some kind of blade system inserted into this. So let's see, what can we do with that? Let's grab one of these. Actually, let's go right up inside, grab this, and actually, let's try this. The inset again in the center, make it really small, and then grab the top edge there and bring it forward on the X like this. And I'm just playing around. It doesn't have to make, logical sense. All right, that's pretty cool. All right, so now if I pop out edit mode, you can see we've got something that's pretty cool. Now I want to have some kind of light system on this, where we've got some red lights kind of glowing within this, and I want them to turn on. So we're gonna have this dramatic moment where it's like, that classic, as the lights kind of pop on. So let's go and get some material action happening on this guy. Okay, so with everything turned back on now, we can have a look at this thing. Now I'm going to go assign a new material to this and just give myself a little bit more room. And I want to make kind of a metallic, dark metallic metal for this. So I'm going to bring this main color down to dark gray. I'm going to turn my metallic right up, and I'll take my roughness down a bit and turn up my specular. And then what I want to do is I want to go in here into the edit. And let's see. What we want to do is I think we want to grab this. Yeah, let's try this. We're going to create a new material. So with that face selected, click the plus key over here. And then we're going to click new, and then we're going to click assign. Okay, and this is going to be factory red. And I might label this like 01 because I think I might have a few of these. And I'm going to switch this from a principled BSDF just to the emission shader. Doing it this way, it's the same as deleting the node here and adding in an emission node, by the way. So let's go to this, and I'm going to make it red. I'm just going to go pure red. And I'm also going to take up my HSV. I'll take my V up to maybe 3 just to get that glow happening. You see we're getting this really nice look on the inside as we stare down at this thing. And so now what I want to think about is, okay, it's going to be really dark inside here. So how is this emission going to help us see this stuff? And I just want to think about that. Like, got to make sure that our angles and stuff are going to actually show off the geometry that we've made. So this light may not be in the right spot, but I think we're pretty good for now. Let's go ahead, and I might take my cube and go back over here to my array and maybe increase my count. Or maybe, let's see, what do we need to do? Oh, we already have a huge count. So we could, I think, having a lot of these is going to look really cool. So if we do this, and then what I want to do is I'm going to take this system and I'm going to hit Shift D. So now we have another one, and grab this, and I'll grab it down on the Z like that, and then I'll rotate it on the Z so it's so it doesn't line up. It's like a separate Z level. And I'm going to grab it up a little bit and maybe scale it in. And then let's play around with this one, maybe having not as many. Does that look any better? Not really. I think having loads of these things looks really cool. All right. All right, now let's grab this again and hit Shift D. Grab that on the Z, bring it in. And we're going to scale this one down too. So we get this like three tier kind of level. I'll have this one intersect like that. So that looks cool. Bring it in a little bit so we still get some of that red. And let's also take this top one and let's scale these guys up so that they're poking out a little bit. Although I don't want it to be, they're hiding, so narratively we probably don't want it poking out. Now the idea with animating this is we want to be able to take this and rotate it like that, right? So when this thing turns on, these lights are going to like turn on and these things are going to start spinning, you know. Do you like my sound effects? All right, so that's that section. Now let's think about how it's looking from the bottom. Actually, we're never going to see it from underneath, so I'm not too worried about that. All right, so the last thing I want to do with this, it's a fairly simple model, but I wanted to think about maybe could we have some other bits like along the sides and stuff. And also now that I'm looking at it, I don't know if I love these hills, this kind of like this look that we've got going on here. I think let's take our big asteroid again. Head back over to that. I can go ahead and grab this into our factory as well, so we've got everything contained in the factory object. And let's see. I'm going to take that down, and I'm going to take my displace maybe down to like 0.2. I just feel like it loses some realism. Like it starts looking fake to me. When we get too many of these little ridges and stuff, that's kind of cool. Yeah. It's cool. You could see the twisting that we put into it. Maybe that's a good idea. Maybe we should do is let's go into edit mode with this. And let's grab this top section. So I'll just set transparency mode on, and I'll switch to vertex mode. I'll make sure I don't have anything selected. I'll just grab this top bit up here, and I'll just rotate it on the Z. Actually, I want to go from the 3D cursor. So I switch my origin point to the 3D cursor so that it actually rotates around the center of the scene. And also I'll turn this off so we can see what's actually happening. Now we're getting this like insanely cool kind of twisty look. Almost looks like something like was frozen. That's neat. I like that. We're keeping it. It's got to look like a weird asteroid. Like it's not a normal asteroid, so it's fine if it's got some bizarreness going on. So I got to make sure I turn up my viewport render to match. Don't forget that. All right, so let's start off. Let's create this material for our asteroid. We want to have a material that basically, as the little scanner droid flies up to this thing on like the dark side of this asteroid, he's going to scan it, and I want to have like some kind of light system begin to turn on this thing. So immediately we begin to know something's not quite right, and I want it to kind of grow and expand, and then that's when the interior is going to turn on like this. Okay, so to do that, let's go over to the material. We're going to rename this material. Now, if you've still got your other asteroids, if for some reason you're building this in your main scene, you want to make a new material first. But since this is the only asteroid in this scene, it doesn't really matter for me. I can just keep using it. But just make sure you don't overwrite what you're already using. So I'm going to rename this asteroid factory. Okay, and now over in my material settings, first thing I want to do is I want to change the distance in my bump. Now, if you can see right now, it doesn't look very bumpy when we get up close. And that's because we're basically saying there's a distance of 62, which, roughly means that, the distance between a peak and a trough within the bump map is 62. But this is such a huge thing, it's actually quite larger. So if I increase my distance, you're going to see that we'll actually get a much better bump overall. So I'll just increase that up. Something like well, just still looks right, really. It's just about doing it to eye. So I think that looks pretty good. All right, great. Now let's get started. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to use the bump system that we've created to drive this thing so that it feels like it kind of lives within the actual structure of this asteroid. Okay. So in order to do that, what I want to do is take right here, the thing that's going into my bump is set from these two noise textures. So I'm going to create a new color ramp just to give myself a little bit more control. Drop that down, and I'll take the factor of the bump and I'll pipe it into the factor here. And I'll go ahead and pipe this into the emission so you can see what it looks like. If I just drag these in a little bit, you're going to start seeing that it's basically following the same pattern as our bump. And that's you can tell it's like kind of resting right on there and highlighting this section. It feels kind of real because we get this like, ridged area. It's a cool effect. So I want to use this to isolate certain sections. Okay. So I'm going to bring this over like this, I think, and I'm going to switch this to constant. Now, the reason I'm switching it to constant is so that I don't get this like gradual fade off between the black and the white. I want it to be a hard edge because I'm going to use this to basically cut out sections of another material. So you can see here, I'm like isolating these white bits. So now I've got this section over here, these sections. So everything that's not showing up in the emission is black, basically, because black means 0 and 0 emission is no light. So that's why we're not seeing it. But whereas 1 is full emission and we're seeing these really bright spots. So we're going to use this to kind of cut away sections, all right, of another emission material. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's create another texture coordinate node. Technically, we could use this one, but just for space reasons, I could just use this one to get it close. And when I say space reasons, I don't mean outer space. I mean real estate. Let's grab a Verona, and we're going to use 2 of these. We're going to use that same technique we've been using before in other tutorials where we double up the Verona. I'm going to take the object, plug it into the vector, and I'll take the distance. Remember, this only works with the distance value, and plug it into the vector. And then I'm going to get another color ramp. I'll just duplicate that one. I'll turn this one back onto ease, and I will take the color and I'll pipe it into that. And then I'll take this color and pipe it into the emission. All right, great. Okay, cool. So this is definitely not the look we're going for, but never fear. Let's mix these two together. So I'm going to create a mix RGB. And I'll just create a little more room for us. Grab these guys out. And I'll take the color from this color ramp, pipe that into there, and take the color from this one, pipe that into here, and we are going to multiply the two together. Because again, remember from our basic math concepts, when you multiply 0 by any number, you get 0. When you multiply 1, you get the number that, the other one over. So if you multiply 2 by 1, you get 2, right? Anyways, so that's what's happening here. By multiplying, we're keeping this value wherever this value is white, or the number 1. Okay, now let's play around with these a little bit. Let's change the scale of this. We'll bring it right up. And I'm going to change this to Manhattan. And I think I'll go F2. What we're doing is we're getting these like hieroglyphics. How do you say that? Hieroglyphics. That's it. Okay. You can see here we're getting these hieroglyphic kind of images, this like text, almost like alien text. It's appearing now in these key sections of our asteroid. That actually looks really nice. Let's try different scales. I'll keep it around 5. That looks really good. I'll drop this. Just find a nice sort of happy medium, happy spot. That actually looks really good. I'll keep it there. Now I'll take this one and I'll just bring it in. And this one's going to affect basically how much of this is visible, like which of these little runes and stuff are visible. So we could do it like that, actually. That's kind of nice because we get 2 variations. All right, sweet. Let's try going all out with it. You can see with this one, we can use it to basically regulate how much we're seeing. Now we can even animate this, right? So that's another cool thing. And then what's great about this is it's following the contour of our bump. So now let's go ahead and make this thing look evil. How do we do that? The color red. How else? All right, let's do it. I'm going to smash this thing all the way down into red. Turn my green all the way off. So I've got 1 for red, and I'm going to turn my vibrancy up to 5. There we go. And let's see. I'll do the same for this one. I'm not sure it'll make a difference, but it may. Like that. And turn this vibrancy up to 5 as well. Yeah, wow. Okay, that's very bright. Maybe not 5. Maybe let's bring that down a touch. Whoa, there. Okay, so what I did was I ended up turning up my red, this one back up to 4 on the vibrancy, and this one I turned up to, well, the max, 4.875. And what I did was I just changed the scale of my second Verona. I just brought it down to 9.5. And this just gives me these nice kind of, not, massive blocks of text, but just like little sections. So now when our little guy flies up, we can have these rune-like things appear. Now what we can also do is we can grab this and we can create a mapping node and stick it right here. And we can animate this moving because why not? All right, cool. Well, that's all we've got time for today. We're not going to bother setting up a rig to animate this thing because it's so simple. We'll be able to do it pretty much when we get into the scene itself. We'll be able to set that up and kind of animate it based on what we see. But this is what I really wanted to create today. Our alien spaceship asteroid factory bad guy thing. So hope you really enjoyed it. Hope you learned some really cool tricks about materials and modeling and making stuff look cool. Once again, please feel free to check out the Patreon. We got lots of extra stuff over there. We got a whole series of tutorials on how to make the hero spaceship and the bad guy spaceship that's coming up. Plus, that's where I put up all the live streams and the uncut versions of each episode. So like each one's like 2 or 3 hours long. Check that out. It's a lot of fun to see. And check us out on Blender Market. We got some cool stuff for sale over there too. And yeah, really appreciate you watching it. Thanks for engaging with the channel. And I hope you have a fantastic week. I will catch you in the next episode. See ya.